The breaking news coming out of Formula 1 as the teams arrive in Abu Dhabi is that a McLaren team member says that he was assaulted by Sam. A McLaren team member named Mark Davis says that Sam lashed out on him during the Las Vegas Grand Prix weekend. Now, this news story has come at a great shock to everybody in the paddock, as this was something that nobody was expecting, considering the entire start of the season has been mostly quite peaceful, and of course at the end of last season, which is when this certain event took place, it's the fact that why has it gone public now? Well, we can try and start to get a couple of answers to that, but before we can even start to think about that, first things first, McLaren are taking action against Sam after he lashed out at Mark Davis during the Las Vegas Grand Prix weekend. McLaren have asked for any other names to step forward and speak up in order to help get a quick and swift resolution to this issue. But now it comes down to why has Mark Davis commented about this much later than anybody would have expected. I mean, if you'd had somebody lash out, surely you'd go ahead and inform your employer straight away that this has happened. Well, speaking to the news reports, Mark Davis has said that he was left shocked, anxious and scared after the assault by Sam, and that Sam said that there would be more consequences if things went public. Now, of course, this has been playing on Mark's head for quite some time, to the point where Zak Brown himself noticed that there was a specific problem with Mark's overall performance. And during some performance reviews that were set in place, he then decided to open up on the matter and try and get a resolution quickly in order to get his life back on track. This is something that shocked Zak Brown at the time, and he needed to try and find some more information. As things stand, Mark Davis is currently suspended by McLaren, but not because of the accusations that have come out, but he is suspended from team duties until this investigation is all clear. Ultimately, what they want is for Mark Davis to be working with the team when everything is all clear and that the situation is resolved. The last thing that they want is for Mark Davis to continue to be working with the team and going trackside to each weekend, knowing full well that Sam is also going to be there. They know that it's just going to cause a problem, so for the time being, he shall be working back at home, doing some small bits and pieces for the team here and there. As things stand at the moment, Sam and his agents have refused to comment on the matter itself. However, we'll hopefully try and find out some more information in the weeks to come. Taking a look at the race news heading into the weekends, McLaren continue to impress in practice. George Russell and Valtteri Bottas were putting in some great lap times, especially in the race trim, which was really giving them the upper hand. But despite the fact that McLaren were going fastest in the practice sessions, it wasn't without any form of discomfort from behind, as Ferrari and Porsche are keeping the pressure on behind them, and this is going to make it a very close fight at the front. What about some of the other teams up and down the grid? Well, Aston Martin are unable to get the rear end working as they like. When Aston Martin get a lap together, they're looking very, very quick. So there's no way that we can rule out Aston Martin from this weekend. But the problem that they've got is that they're struggling to get it working on a consistent basis. There are some laps where the car is working well and they can hook up a great lap. There's other times though, especially in the final sector, where the rear end is just not cooperating with what the two drivers want to put together to get the lap correct. And it's not helping them out. Mercedes are lost with their race pace. While their qualifying simulation runs are looking impressive, their race pace is not so much. Now, Mercedes know that they could sacrifice some of their qualifying speed in order to help with their race trim, but by doing that, it will make their races even more difficult. So a little bit of a fine balance to try and tune there. As for Lando Norris in the Ferrari, he is ready to fight with the McLarens for the race win. Norris feels that he's got a car underneath him from the team at Maranello to go ahead and take on the McLarens for the win, as he believes they are going to be the team to beat going into this race weekend. But let's see if Lando Norris can do what he says that he's ready to do and take that win. It's time for qualifying and the race for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Yo, what's going on, guys? It is Foxydude here, and welcome back to a brand new video and another episode of the F1 journey for you guys today here on the channel. Today, we are here for round number 3 of Season 12. It is the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. If you guys end up enjoying today's video, feel free to drop it a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here as well, as it goes a long, long way for me, and I'd very much appreciate it. But let's get straight into things then, and it's time for qualifying, and well, that's probably not the best way to get a banker lap in place of a 120.3 by cutting the last corner, but as we always do in qualifying, I like to go for a first flying lap just to get a feel of the car and the track, because I don't really do much practice, Then I go ahead and do a back-to-back first set of laps here. So as you can see, we go 0.3 of a second faster and go into the 1 minute 19s. And then I will go ahead and put a last lap together to try and improve on my PB. And it's something that I'm going to need to do because as you can see, we're currently in P19 right down the very back. So we've got a lot of work to do if we want to try and get a good lap together. So we're going towards the first corner here. Whilst the entry and the exit was initially okay, there was just a little snap on the rear end that I felt like I needed to correct, and that put me on the back foot. But we do improve by 3/100ths of a second. It's not much, but the first sector is definitely a sector where you can't really find too much pace. So we're not too bad through there, but we don't get a good run through the hairpin, which does compromise us now on the back straight here. So we're now 7/100ths down on our previous best lap time, but crucially, we just need to keep ourselves in play until the end of the lap. And unfortunately, that is not how you keep yourself in play. We get the chicane there completely wrong, and now all of a sudden we find ourselves half a second down, make that 6/10 down on our previous best lap, and we're currently stone dead last in this qualifying session. So if we want anything from this session, we've got to go for it, but it goes even worse now on this lap here as I'm pushing hard, chasing away to try and find some performances. We go in towards the last sector now, 7/10 nearly down on our previous best lap time, and it gets even worse as we push as hard as possible, and it goes too wrong too quickly, and that is our lap over. That's qualifying over, and all we can do now is just drive it to the start finish line to complete the lap. But for us, it is the worst case scenario, and it's last on the grid. Well, here we go then. It is race time for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, and while our qualifying was absolutely horrendous for George Russell, it was the best possible qualifying that he could get. George Russell is going to start this race from pole position with a 1 minute 18.539. Sam qualifies on the front row alongside of him. He was 9/100ths of a second off the pace. Lando Norris is third, 2.5 tenths behind George Russell, with my teammate Oscar Piastri carrying the Aston Martin team, qualifying in P4. It's a personal best qualifying for Kimi Antonelli, who starts 5th for Mercedes-Benz, ahead of Reese, who's P6 for Porsche. Carlos Sainz qualifies in 7th for the Audi team, with Charles Leclerc P8 for Porsche. Max Verstappen qualifies in 9th for Ferrari, with Valtteri Bottas only half a second behind George Russell and down in P10. Daniel Ricciardo qualifies in P11, impressively ahead of Lewis Hamilton, who is 6/10 of a second off the pace. It was yet another difficult qualifying for both of the Red Bull drivers, with Sergio Perez only good enough for P13, while Sebastian Vettel could only muster up P14 for the Red Bull team. Stoffel Van Dorn qualifies in 15th for BMW, ahead of Liam Lawson in the Jaguar in P16. Ollie Behrman starts 17th for BMW, while Alex Albon is P18, 9/10 of a second off the pace. Pierre Gasly starts the race P19, 1.2 off of pole, and we are starting stone dead last, 1.4 seconds off of pole, unable to get a good lap under us, and we have got a lot of work to do. Alright, we are here on the grid then for the start of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, and it is going to be a tricky one for us. We're starting at the back of the field. It's a one-stop strategy to get us to the end of the Grand Prix. Mediums to hards. It's 5 red lights. It's time for maximum attack. So let's get this race underway then, and it's a decent getaway from us, already moving up a place here as we're side by side with Gasly going in towards the first corner. We're braking a little bit cautiously in towards the first corner, and almost like we did in Saudi Arabia, we may have just got some damage, but on this occasion we seem to be alright there. It was tyre face to side pod contact there on the BMW, but that's a lucky escape for us, unlike what happened last weekend. But we'll take that, and we're going to go down the inside of 2 more down in towards the hairpin here, and we just about get a better exit here. But the Jaguar that we did overtake, I can't see the number, so I'm not sure which one it was. It is Alex Albon there that we did initially pass. He's come back at us, but on the second half of the straight here, we can just launch it up a couple more cars now. Down the inside into the hairpin we go, and that's another clean overtake there on Sergio Perez this time around, up into 14th place, 6 places gained off the start, and this is a dream start for us, apart from the incident towards turn 1, because A, we're actually in this race, and B, we're going to get another place here on Daniel Ricciardo, down the inside, back end, stepping out again there on us as we go through towards that high-speed section of the track, now down in towards the final sector here, and as you can see, we've got Max Verstappen in front of us. Perez, though, trying to come back at us through in towards this final sector, but we'll hold him off, and this is the portion of the track there that you can see where the rear end is just very unstable strong on ourselves here, so we're just going to have to manage that as the race goes on and try and find a good way to get a best counterbalance as George Russell leads this Grand Prix for McLaren. So let's go and have a look at the race start and see how it all panned out here. So as the lights go out then, it is a good start from a lot of drivers. Piastri seems to be getting a decent start then. My teammate, as he moves over right towards the outside line of the track there, going in towards turn 1. We go in there. We broke quite early and conservative, and I just did the same thing as last time. I let the car just sort of edge itself in towards the corner, and a BMW turned in straight onto my direction, so that was quite bad. Speaking of bad, Sam's start wasn't very good. He instantly loses out to Lando Norris in the Ferrari. He's then battling side by side with my teammate Piastri. He tries to go around the outsides here at the first part of this high-speed cornering section, but it's to no avail. Unfortunately for Sam, he drops 2 places. And this was the Porsche driver that also had a great start. Of Reese here, he instantly overtakes Kimi Antonelli, and now he's on the back here of this fight between Sam and Oscar Piastri, getting a great view of it here as we go through in towards turns 2 and 3. He's seeing if he can try to find a way through, but not to be. He has to sit back and wait a little bit longer to get an opportunity, potentially down on the back straight. Lap 2 of the Grand Prix, DRS already enabled, of course, after it's enabled after 1 lap this time around here. And there goes Piastri actually on Sam there, down in towards the chicane, which is a great overtake for him. And for us, we're going to go down the inside of Verstappen here, down in towards the chicane. And that's another place gained. Verstappen tries to come back at us, but to no avail. And what we're noticing is that while the drivers are bunched up, that overtaking spot into the chicane is going to be key because they're all braking extremely early into that chicane, whereas I could brake much later. So as you can see here, we're just pulling away now from Verstappen, and this is what I mean here by braking super late into the chicane and getting away with it, because we brake super late there on Sebastian Vettel, and the job is done going into the next straight here, and that's all I'm banking on right now. And to be honest, it's actually brilliant, so we'll take that. Lap 4 of the Grand Prix though, we're onto the back now of Hamilton here, but unfortunately my exits off the hairpin are not that great here as Piastri still fights with Sam that's leading this train. We're meanwhile just sitting back, waiting till the old bunch up and break into the chicane and take another place here. Lewis Hamilton is next on the hit list, but Hamilton actually gets a better run through the chicane than what Verstappen and Vettel were able to do here. So now we're having to fight back against Hamilton down the second straight here. We both got DRS, so it's going to be an even drag now down in towards this next part of the track here, but we're going to get the inside line here on Lewis Hamilton, but he switches back on us quite easily there actually for the Mercedes driver, so fair play to Lewis Hamilton. He put up a little bit of a fight there, but unfortunately for my former teammate, it is to no avail. We get the job done, and we're up into the points paying positions now in this race here. It quite clearly shows that our qualifying trim was just, well, absolutely abysmal, and that we've got a little bit of pace on hand here. Back at the front, though, this is what's going on right at the very front here. George Russell is making a move here on Lando Norris for the lead of the Grand Prix, and it seems that while Sam and Piastri are battling away for P3, that's just allowed the Ferrari and the McLaren to pull away out front together and have their own little scrap out front. You can see it here as Norris now gets a good run here on George Russell going in towards this end of this DRS straight, but it's not enough. He just needed a little bit more straight there and he would have been absolutely fine. As for us though, we're trying to find a way past his teammate George Russell, Valtteri Bottas here, as we get a good run this time on the exit the hairpin for once in our lives here. So we'll open up the DRS here. We've got a yellow flag. Someone's pulled over to the side there. That is Charles Leclerc with an engine failure on the straight here, and that's a horrible moment for him in this Grand Prix. He is out of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, and also we couldn't make a move on Valtteri Bottas because the yellow flags were out right at the entrance to the chicane, so we're going to have to sit behind him. But on the plus side, we do gain a place, courtesy of that retirement, but so does everybody else. But that's a great shame for Porsche as well, because obviously they've got a good car underneath them, and to get a retirement like that, especially when Reese is about to be overtaken by Sam by the looks of it up ahead, that's not what he wanted. But we're back on the DRS train here, we're back waiting for them to bunch up into the chicane, and we're back waiting for an opportunity to go down the inside here. Valtteri Bottas has been dispatched. Next up the road is Carlos Sainz in the Audi, but you can see here Sam got the move done on Reese exactly as he wanted, but that's not good enough because Reese gets the DRS on the second straight here to come back at Sam now, round the outside in towards this high-speed left-hander. Reese will have to hold it around the outside. Sam will give him as much space as he's allowed to before actually, well, not giving any space at all. Down in towards the hotel now they go. This is getting very close now between the two of them. They're still keeping this fight going side by side between all of them now. Whilst that's going on, they're bunching up here. And so I think that Sights there makes an error, and it's an error that actually benefits us in this race. Sam, though, holds position. We got past Sights, but we then make a mistake of our own. Going into the last corner, Sights will come back at us now. Down the start-finish straight, in towards turn 1. Sights is ahead of us, but braking later into turn 1. We force Sights wide, get the place back on the Audi driver, and that's a great fighting maneuver between everyone in the field there, all wrestling for positions now. As you can see, Reese is right on the back of Sam. We'll have another run at him, but before we see the run at Sam, Lando Norris and George Russell out front here are still having a fight of their own. Russell with the DRS here will use that down to go breezing past Lando Norris with pretty much pure ease there in this race, as Reese now will have his DRS attack here on Sam down in towards the chicane, and it's going to be no avail here for him on that occasion. For us though, we're also making a move because we've just gone down the inside of Kimi Antonelli into the chicane there and making up more places now in this race than I can count at the moment with all the laps that we're going through. There's another fight going on here because Piastri now gets past Sam, who's run out of battery. You can see that he's having to harvest there on the end of the straight, so even though he's got DRS, it's not enough, and Piastri is now also a man on the mission. It's the Astons on a mission here, because Piastri now is going to go past Reese here with the DRS, down the straight, in towards the hairpin. Reese can't fight that one as much as he probably would have wanted to, because the battle was not on anymore, and that is, unfortunately for Reese, a drop in place. Oscar moves into third. As for us, we're in P6 in this race, and that's not the way to go around a corner there, as we were just getting a little bit wide on the hairpin. Antonelli spotted a run for it, tried to go for it, but he's broke his front wing in the process there. So down the straight we go. It's a drag race between myself and Antonelli, but it's not going to be enough here, because we're going to brake later than Antonelli. Stick in front, and he's locked up. Double front lock up there. Somehow, he's kept the car in check there, but the front wing end plate has come off of Kimi Antonelli. We did go wide there in towards the hairpin, and Antonelli was right to go for an attack here down in towards the hairpin on ourselves, but he just put the braking point a bit too wrong there, went a little bit too wide on exit and collided with the side of my car. Fortunately, I don't seem to have any damage, but for Reese and Piastri though, up ahead though, these two are really going for it now in towards the hotel. They're doing exactly what Sam and Reese were doing like a lap or two ago, but we're right on the back of this now, and we're going to try and see if we can do the same thing to Sam as we did to Sights, and that's exactly what we'll do. We've caught the Audi driver out as well. Two Audi drivers caught out in the hotel section, and that is now us up into 5th, I think that is, while Piastri runs in 3rd. And who's running in the lead? Well, it was Lando Norris. It's going to be, oh, that was close to the exit there. Sorry, to going off the track there. It's going to be George Russell. There's still a side-by-side moment going on between Piastri and Reese, but we're focusing on the battle for the lead here. Russell gets the job done, but Reese looks like he's Norris, shall I say, looks like he's close enough here to have a run at George Russell going in towards the exit of this straight. He is going to go to the outside line into the high-speed left-hand. They're going to make it work. He's trying for it now as they swoop right round here. This is going to get nice and close in between these two drivers. They are going to go for it then in towards this hotel section. So let's see who comes out on top then. Lando Norris is going to take the inside line for this first part. Now Russell takes the inside line, and in fact it's actually Russell that holds on in suit there. So George Russell maintains the lead of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix for about a couple of corners more, because then with the second DRS zone coming up very shortly, Lando Norris says, I'll have that back again, and overtakes George Russell for the lead of the Grand Prix. As for us though, we're right on the back here of Oscar Piastri, and we'll just see if we can find a way through on him, but we're not going to find a way through by going wide on the exit, and by going wide, that gives Sam an opportunity to come at us now with the DRS here down the straight. We've also got DRS here, but we've lost a little bit of momentum, but we can use the momentum on the exit, or the entry of the corner, sorry, to get at Sam. But Sam's actually done a great job there of holding on around down the inside, because I thought the outside would give me more speed, so we'll have to fight it in the hotel section, but we're actually able to outbrake Sam enough to actually stay in front of him going in towards this double left-hander. So we stay in front of Sam for the time being, and on the end of that lap, Reese actually pits for a stop, for his first stop of the Grand Prix. As for us, we're staying out a lap longer, and also so is Piastri. So we're going to go and get the DRS open here. We could have made a lunging dive bomb on Piastri quite a few times actually in this race, but obviously with it being Oscar, I'm being a bit more sensible. So we're just going to make a nice clean move around the outside there, not compromising Oscar, and also allowing him to stay basically level with ourselves. But I say that, but Piastri, whilst I was nice and calm and collective with Piastri, he then calm and collectively, well, re-overtakes me and says, sorry, you're not having that position, it's mine. So thanks for that, Oscar. We're unfortunately right back where we started again, in a net P5 in this race, but currently P4. So yeah, that's not quite worked there. We did get a nice move on Oscar actually, but as Oscar Piastri, well, had the DRS on the next straight, used his battery in that portion of the track, which is a little bit frustrating, but it is what it is. That is racing, as that was a little bit too close to the wall there, but we are going to come into the pits now and get off of these medium compound tyres, get on a set of the hard tyres, and take us to the end of the Grand Prix. So, by doing this, it's just going to, well, hopefully get us out close to Reese, because of course Reese did pit a lap earlier than us, but what I'm hoping for is that his hard tyres took a long time to warm up. As you can see in front of us though, that is George Russell and Lando Norris, so you can see the gap between ourselves and Russell and Norris. There's Reese now on the track map there, going in towards turn 1, so Reese actually comes out in front of us, a little bit further out in front than I probably would have wanted. He's going to be in front of us in terms of the DRS detection zone. We're not going to be within a second of him. Sam might just about be within the 1 second window of ourselves in this Grand Prix, so that's not quite worked out how I wanted. But here comes George Russell on Lando Norris, so he's not wasting any time to get his hard tyres warmed up. He's going straight for the overtake, down in towards the chicane. Job done for him, and that is a nice move, and one that he'll be satisfied with. But can Lando Norris do what he's done before and come back at George Russell on the second straight? He's got the DRS, so he's going to get closer to the back of the McLaren, but not to be. But lap 18 of the Grand Prix now, and while Lando Norris and George Russell have been fighting away, Reese has closed up to the back of them. I've closed up to the back of them. Piastri and Sam are now having a fight for P5 in the background there. So if they're going to keep on fighting, we've now got 4 cars at the front here that are looking for a little bit of a fight for the win of this Grand Prix, which after you said that after my qualifying, I wouldn't have believed it. But Sam here is harvesting the battery, going down in towards this. Oh, there's a little bit of contact there between ourselves and Russell. I don't know why I said Sam. It's probably because that's the seat that Sam was in last season in the McLaren. But as things are going with McLaren and Sam at the moment, it just gets even more worse for him right now. So probably best for Sam's sake that we don't talk about him at McLaren right now. But we're carrying on with this fight then. Lando Norris leads the Grand Prix. Reese is now up to second. He's dispatched of George Russell on this hard tyre stint. Myself and it's a lock up there from somebody, as we're going to go around the outside this time of Russell. So while we've been making moves down the inside of everybody under braking, going in towards that chicane, this time we're going to go around the outside of George Russell and get the move done. But while these two have been rapid in the first stint, myself and Reese seem to be the two rapid drivers in this second stint here, because we've just closed up to the back of these two, and now we're causing them problems. For Russell's sake, we're ahead of him, but for Lando Norris's sake, he's now in trouble here, because Reese is coming at him now with the DRS here, down in towards the chicane. Here he goes. He's going to go to the inside here and try and make the move stick. Can he? He does actually, makes it stick easily. And for us, we're going to do what we did to Russell a lap ago, around the outside into the chicane on Lando Norris, and that's an overtake done in the books, and we're up into second place now, and it's time for cousin versus cousin. It is myself against Reese on lap 21 here. He doesn't have the DRS, we're going to have it, so this is going to be quite easy for us, hopefully, down the straight. Unless Reese absolutely dumps everything hell out of his battery, we should be alright to make this move stick here. He's going to go very defensive, as far to the inside as he possibly can, but it's not enough. We're going to brake nice and late and get the job done on Reese. And from starting last in the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, we now lead it on lap 21, but there are still a good amount of laps to go in this Grand Prix, and Reese is still right behind me. Lando Norris and George Russell are all there in the fight, but already you can see that Reese doesn't have the DRS here. Lando Norris does have the DRS, and he passes Reese, but whilst I made that overtake stick, I have dumped this into hot lap, and I am trying to get away from DRS, because if I can do it, then the DRS will not be effective against me, and they can fight each other. Because what's happened as we go on board here with Sam, who's fending against Piastri, is these two have been fighting so hard, like they are now going into the chicane, that it's just not allowed them to close up to the front of the field and try and fight for podiums / victories, because they're too busy fighting with each other. As Oscar makes the overtake down on Sam. Sam's coming back at Oscar now with the DRS here. He's going to go to the inside line, try and make the move stick on my teammate, but as we go round the left-hander, Oscar maintains his position, stays around the outside. Good move from him. Lap 25 of the Grand Prix, and while I did actually at one point in this race pull a second clear of the guys behind me, it's not enough. Lando Norris has got some great pace now in this stint here, and he's closed that gap back up and pulled himself into DRS range here. So Norris now, with the DRS, is going to go to the outside of ourselves here and try and make the move stick, but he's given us the opening for the inside line, so we'll come back at him and compromise his run into the chicane. But it's not enough, actually, to compromise his run to the point where Reese can have a run at him, but we're going to try and see if we can defend the position for a little bit longer. We seem to be alright in terms of our battery. We're doing a good job at measuring that and not allowing us to really ruin our battery count and to make us harvest too much here. But we've got now Piastri again making a move on Sam, and that's job done. Quite self-explanatory, really. It's a simple DRS overtake, and they'll probably be scrapping for a lot longer. Lap 27 though, and we're carrying on with our fight here at the front. Norris will have DRS again here on this straight now, so we're going to keep on pushing now in this race. As you can see, Norris is getting closer. He's getting closer, but we've got a yellow flag there, and that's the McLaren of Russell. Russell's slowing down. He's slowing down on the straight here. Something's gone wrong for him, and I think it could be... Is he out of the race? Has he had a puncture? Something's gone on George Russell's car, and he is out of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, but we can't muster above that for too much longer because Norris now is trying to come at us, going in towards the left-hander, and he's got the move done, but then we just tuck our nose on the inside, re-overtake Lando Norris, and the fight for the win has turned into a three-way fight because Russell is out, and we've got one more to go now in this Grand Prix, lap 29 of 29, and we can see, I think we might have just set our personal best lap on the last lap. We're really hammering it now in terms of pacing. We've got good battery count though. You can see there, 60-odd% of battery still going, and probably actually more than that if I actually, was able to have a better preview screen than this blurred piece, but you'll know what it is. Down in towards the hairpin though. Here we go then. The back straight. One final time. There's two more DRS zones. We've got to defend here. We've got to fend off Reese. We've got to fend off Norris. Norris is coming at us with the DRS. Nothing we can do. Lando Norris takes the lead back again, but he doesn't hold the inside line again. So we'll go down the inside of Norris, making the move stick there. And now on the exit, we can just pull away here from Lando. We're using everything we've got now, hugging the inside line here, trying not to give Norris as much of a slipstream as possible, and now in towards the left-hander. Make sure that we don't go too wide here, because we obviously went tight to the inside, so we had to brake a little bit more just to keep the car in check, but we're all right now, and in towards the hotel section, braking late. That's the right-hander done. This trouble left-hander here that caused me trouble in qualifying, don't spin it now. That would be a disaster, and we get through those with ease now as we go through the final two corners now to start the final lap here. Round the last corner we go. From last on the grid, we win the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. What a race, what a recovery, and what a fight between ourselves, Lando Norris and Reese, and also George Russell until his heartbreaking end to this Grand Prix. But that was absolutely brilliant. We really wrestled this car in race trim, and we got a race win that we probably were never ever expecting, but it came our way. We managed to beat Lando Norris by 0.4 of a second, crossing the start-finish line, and we also managed to beat Reese by 0.7 of a second as he crossed the start-finish line. Our fastest lap was a 1:21.269. That was the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, so we get the full 26 points in the bag, which is absolutely fantastic. In terms of how we managed to turn that race around from where we were, my voice is going, Jesus. We basically just was able to get the car working in the track sections that I couldn't get it working. In qualifying, I really struggled in the final sector. I just could not get the back end to stay with me. It turns out that when I was then racing in the main race itself, I was being too ambitious on the throttle, going through especially the double left-hander where I was losing heaps of time. I was actually able to then lift off the throttle just a tiny bit and just get that throttle controller under control, and then from there I had that pace in the final sector, and then it was able to really counter the issues that I had. I had great straight line speeds. I was not an issue with that. Obviously the chicane, I was able to brake later inside and outside. I had confidence under braking in that chicane every single lap, obviously apart from qualifying, which would have been useful, but ultimately we fought for that one. We really fought for it, and I was really happy with that race afterwards. Also, I'm really happy for my teammate Oscar Piastri, because while he did finish 7 seconds off the race win in the end, he did actually manage to beat Sam for P4, which is a brilliant result for Aston Martin. P1 and P4, we will take that. Sam finishes 5th for Audi, 7.8 seconds off in the end. He definitely would have been in the fight with myself, Lando and Reese, but again, he got caught up in the fight with Piastri, so it just set him back and he wasn't able to make any further progress. A team that are making more progress is Renault, because Daniel Ricciardo, for the second race in a row now, gets points for Renault, and this is on a completely different track to Jeddah. Obviously, the straight line speed track of Jeddah was going to suit the Renault car a lot, and that's how Daniel Ricciardo was able to score points. But this time around, this is a different type of circuit. Yes, it's a high-speed circuit, so it will play into the strengths of Renault, but especially in that final sector, you do need some good downforce, and it works for them. So fair play to Renault, they get more points on the board. Lewis Hamilton is 7th in this race, 11 seconds off the win in the end, and this is actually where there was a big train of cars. Because as you can see, Ricciardo was 10.9 seconds off. Hamilton was only 2 tenths behind Daniel Ricciardo. Carlos Sainz was 4 tenths, so I get my words out, behind Lewis Hamilton. Valtteri Bottas for the second McLaren car was 3 tenths behind Sainz. And then we've got Verstappen, who finished in 10th, 3 tenths behind Bottas. So they were really in a good old train of fighting there. And up and down the grid, everyone was in a battle all race long. Looking at the second half of the table now, Sergio Perez, I believe, was also in that fight because 12.6 seconds off. He was half a second behind Max Verstappen, so he also was in that battle, but was just unable to get points for Red Bull. Liam Lawson finishes in 12th place for Jaguar. You'll be impressed with that one. You'll be happy with that. It's a good, strong result. It's not quite close enough for the points yet, but hopefully at a certain point, Jaguar can get that. And it's become a fall of grace because Sebastian Vettel finishes in P13 for Red Bull, and it's a double non-scoring finish for Red Bull, and they need to get back onto the drawing board because they started the season really, really well. Fighting well at the front of the field was Sebastian Vettel, and close to a race victory. In the end, he finished in 2nd place, but since then, he's had 2 bad qualifyings and 2 bad races, so he needs to try and get his act together and go again. Kimi Antonelli finishes in P14. It could have been more for Antonelli, but the contact with myself damaging his front wing ruins his race. Oliver Behrman finishes in 15th for BMW, with Alex Albon in 16th for the second Jaguar car. Pierre Gasly is 17th for Renault, and then Stoff Van Dorn was the last of the classified race finishers. And again, even at the back of the field, there was a massive scrap going on between all of them, because again, Antonelli 27.1 off the lead, off the race win in the end. Behrman 27.3, only 2 tenths behind, so they were having a fight. And then the other 3 of Albon, Gasly and Van Dorn, 27.736. Gasly 27.784, so they photo finished across the line, and Van Dorn 27.9, only 2 tenths behind them. So, like I said, everyone was in a fight all race long. Unfortunately for George Russell, his race ended so close to the end. What could have been for Russell, and obviously for Charles Leclerc, he obviously finished quite early in the Grand Prix, which is a real shame for him. But let's have a look and see how the Drivers' Championship has changed now after this Grand Prix. Well, we now retake the lead of the Drivers' Championship. We are on 52 points in this season, with Reese on 48 points for Porsche. The gap is 4 points between myself and Reese, and it's early stages, but this is the closest that the championship has been between the top 2 drivers so far this season at 4 points. Lando Norris sits on 38 points. He is 14 points back at the top of the Drivers' Championship, with George Russell sitting in 4th place in the championship. Despite his DNF, he is on 25 points, same as Oscar Piastri, but of course George Russell managed to win the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Piastri has accumulated a P5 with a fastest lap and also a P4 to get his 25 points, meaning that George Russell gets in front of him. Sam is 6th for Audi on 22 points, with Sebastian Vettel dropping down to 7th for Red Bull, who's on 18 points. Charles Leclerc is on 17 points, with Valtteri Bottas sitting on 16 points, and then Lewis Hamilton is 10th in the championship on 14 points. The next event is the F1 Journey Qatar Grand Prix. And then looking at the Constructors' Championship now, and there has been a change at the top as Aston Martin re-overtake Porsche to go top of the championship after round number 3. As you can see, we are on 77 points, sitting 12 points clear of Porsche, who are on 65 points. McLaren stay where they are, 3rd in the championship on 41 points, with Ferrari sitting on 39 points and Audi on 32 points. Those 2 teams have overtaken Red Bull, who failed to score this weekend. They're on 24 points and dropped down a position. Mercedes stay in 7th place on their 16 points, but they're now being closed in by Renault, who are on 12 points, and that is a massive fall for for Mercedes-Benz, who have won the previous 2 championships, so they need to try and get their car concept under control, because right now, things are not working for them. Jaguar and BMW, meanwhile, are sitting at the bottom of the table, and they're both looking to try and get themselves some points in this championship. But that is it for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, so let's get ourselves into the post-race notebook and see what the teams and drivers had to say after this Grand Prix. Taking a look at the post-race notebook, and Tom shocks the field with victory after starting last at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Despite a horrible qualifying session which saw him spin out and have to start at the back, he fought his way all the way to the front, but for some reason, he's not quite sure how he was able to do that, as he still had no real understanding as to why he was so fast. While they could see that he was quicker in the final sector compared to where he had been in qualifying, as he was able to be a lot more controlled with the car, it still didn't quite give them a great understanding as to why they were so fast elsewhere on the track. Now Aston Martin and Tom are having to sit down together, go through the data and go through everything that they changed in order to make sure that they can figure out what caused the silver bullet that led them to victory. Speaking of silver and the silver arrows, Kimi Antonelli is angry with Tom after their crash at this Grand Prix. Of course, Antonelli went into the side of Tom after Tom went wide at the hairpin, and it broke Antonelli's front wing end plates, and both drivers have a different view on it. Antonelli says that Tom locked up, went wide and turned in too aggressively then and smashed into the side of Antonelli. While Tom, on the flip side, says that whilst he did go wide, he still had his car in front of Antonelli when the contact happened. Kimi needed to just slow down, back off, not understeer into the side of him, and then he would have had him on the straight with DRS with a completely clean front wing. So they're going to keep their differences to themselves for the time being. And finally, George Russell has called for McLaren to put this race behind them after a disappointing end to proceedings. George Russell was on for a very strong finish after being in the fight with Reese, Norris and Tom for the win of this Grand Prix with at worst, a P4 finish. George Russell started on pole position for the second race in a row, which shows that McLaren have definitely got some pace at the start of this season, but the engine failure put pay to any form of points whatsoever. And George Russell, while he is extremely disappointed to miss out on a potential race victory, knows that there is more races to come where he can put that behind him. But that is it for the F1 Journey Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. If you guys have enjoyed the video, feel free to drop it a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new around here as well, and I'll catch you guys next time for the Qatar Grand Prix. Take care all, peace.